Content Marketing Mastery. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. This is a picture of a fellow who just passed away this last week. Somebody who I got to know because I got to work with him a little bit. Early on in the early days of BrianJPombo.com, I got to meet this guy named Roy Masters. And Roy Masters is a very controversial figure, especially out here in Grants Pass, Oregon. So he was, when he first came to town, he was running a very large church. It was a church made up of basically followers that had began listening to him over the radio. He was one of my He was somebody who I got to work with directly and see how content marketing works on a very large scale. So I'm not going to talk about his views. I'm not going to talk about any of the controversial things about this guy. You can go and look that stuff up yourself. But his ability to create content was pretty amazing. And I'm going to tell you about three different things that he was a master at when it came to content marketing. Okay, first off, he began in radio back in the 60s and started very early, did not really know what he was doing, and ended up getting into a situation where he was, in a sense, purchasing radio time. And because of that, he could basically say whatever he wanted. And so he would have he would do basically whatever he wanted with his show. It ended up becoming an advice-based show where people would call in with their issues and he'd give them advice. But it could go in any direction. He could cover politics, he'd cover anything he wanted, which oftentimes would get him into hot water. This was very early on, long before talk radio was considered a major deal, and the conservative talk radio and all that wasn't in existence when he first started out. But he was very early on one of these people that was a pioneer. He got out there and just got in there and did it, and was very early on, even during a time period when infomercials were illegal. He was able to skirt around that, being that his dealt more with religious and more one-on-one nonprofit help. So because he was able to do that, he was able to purchase time on the radio and was able to basically give an infomercial and to be able to sell his books and so on and so forth, which brings me that. So the first one is really his ability to be able to go in early and take advantage of opportunities that other people weren't taking advantage of in media. And you got to keep your eyes open because things are always changing, laws are always changing, and new mediums are opening up all the time. New forms of social media. I mean, if you just talk online, there's new formats always being opened up. Right now, when we're recording this in 2021, there's a Clubhouse is one that I've been hearing a whole lot about. This is I believe it's only on the iPhone, the Apple iPhone, but it is an app where you can go on. Nothing is recorded, but there are verbal conversations going back and forth with everybody, and people host kind of little radio shows. It's something that did not exist much earlier, but now it is, and now it's a thing, and it may morph into another thing, and people are taking advantage of it, and they're making money off of it and making relationships and everything else. Here's the second thing that Roy would do. Roy was he created content in mass. I mean, he pumped out content. So he died at 93. During a period of time when I was doing some work for him, he had, and this was as a contractor for BrianJPombo.com, I run into a lot of colorful characters in this line of work, you can imagine. And what he had was he had a radio show that was on 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, pumping out new material. Now, each of those hours were for sale through his nonprofit organization, which is called the Foundation of Human Understanding, And so people could purchase each individual hour, and they did. They would purchase CDs or cassette tapes of this and have it delivered to them or download it off of their website. And so you had that. Then he had a what he called a Sunday conversation every Sunday for probably 2 to 3 hours every Sunday. Was putting out a very large talk, which would take up 1 to 2 CDs worth or a download online, and he would be putting that out for purchase to be able to raise money for his nonprofit. In addition to that, took a lot of those talks, ended up having them transcribed and created articles out of them, created books out of them. Pamphlets very early on in his career, had pamphlets that he handed out. He started out earlier in the LA area during a time where there was a lot of introspection and people interested in different thoughts and ideas, and so he had pamphlets that people would be able to pass out about his ideas. So he really did grab a whole lot of attention because of his ability to create mass content. He was just a content machine, and there's something anybody can learn from that if you're able to put out more content and be able to use it. Here's the third thing he did, was he was able to use it in all different areas. Like I mentioned briefly, he created books out of his talks. He then would have large seminars, sometimes 3-day long seminars. And they'd go all day. They'd go 8 hours a day sometimes for these great big long seminars. And he'd use that content elsewhere. And with online, the ability to be able to send things in an instant, that gives you the ability to put things up for sale relatively simply. Like we talked about yesterday, information marketing is huge. It's the tail end of content marketing. Content marketing is getting your content out there in order to get attention. Information marketing is one step further. It's having people purchase the information so that they can have it, and it becomes content marketing of a whole different style. So Roy was really something else. I've got a million stories of conversations and situations that I ran into with him, and he's really one of those people that you only meet once in a lifetime. But I wanted to take this opportunity to tie it in with our conversation on content marketing. And hopefully you got something out of that. You could check out, I only have one book. Roy had quite a few books, but I've only got the one so far, 9 Ways to Amazon-Proof Your Business. You can go get a free copy of my book at amazonproofbook.com. We'll be back here tomorrow night. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.